All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a massive cosmic mystery, the legendary Black Knight satellite. For decades, rumors have just completely swirled about this mysterious object in orbit, way up high above our atmosphere. Supposedly, it looks man-made, but lacks any actual earthly origins.
So, the big question we're all asking, are we looking at some 13,000-year-old alien surveillance device, or is it literally just a floating piece of space garbage? We're going to explore the historical clues, the bizarre sightings, and those competing theories to figure out what on Earth, or rather what off Earth, is actually going on up there in the dark. Okay, Section 1, a cosmic mystery. Let's start our investigation with the first major anomaly, retrograde orbit. Picture this. It's 1957. A researcher down in Venezuela is observing the brand new Sputnik satellite in its standard prograde orbit, moving west to east, right along with the Earth's rotation. But while tracking it, they report spotting another object. And here's the kicker. This unknown object was in a retrograde orbit, moving east to west. Back in 1957, pulling that off was a technological feat completely beyond human engineering. There was just no way. And that brings us to the second anomaly driving this whole puzzle, which is honestly just as baffling. We're talking about long-delayed echoes, or LDEs. Basically, strange radio signals bouncing back to Earth that completely ignore the normal rules of physics. Normally, radio echoes are super consistent. They just take a few seconds to bounce back. But these LDEs were highly inconsistent, sometimes taking up to a full 15 seconds to return. It's a phenomenon that has absolutely puzzled observers for years. Moving right along to Section 2, a century of strange signals. So the breadcrumbs of our mystery actually track all the way back to 1899 with Nikola Tesla, way before Sputnik was even a thought. Tesla had built this massive tower in Colorado Springs and ended up picking up transmissions of numbers at incredibly regular intervals. Fast forward a few years, and wireless radio inventor Marconi intercepted those exact same signals. By the 1920s, a Norwegian engineer named Jørgen Hals officially documented those long-delayed echoes we just talked about. And then, jumping to the dawn of the space age in 1954, Major Donald Kehoe, a Marine Corps major, boldly tells newspapers that there are already one or maybe two non-organic satellites orbiting our planet. Now, what is truly fascinating here is Tesla's own takeaway from all this. He was so struck by the sheer regularity of the signals that he assumed they absolutely had to be intentional. He initially thought, okay, maybe it's atmospheric, but quickly realized they were coming from space, outside our atmosphere. In his own words, he believed numbers were being used for communication because numbers are universal. All right, Section 3, the Epsilon Buddhist star map. This mystery takes a massive, massive leap forward in 1973, all thanks to a Scottish researcher named Duncan Lunan. He analyzed those bizarre 15-second radio delays we mentioned earlier and claimed they weren't just random static at all. According to his analysis, they actually formed a hidden message, a literal star map pointing to a faraway double star system known as Epsilon Bootis. He believed this was an alien probe actively trying to talk to us. Lunan claimed he had the actual translation of the echoes, and it literally reads like an introduction from a 13,000-year-old alien civilization. It lays out their home system, the layout of their planets and moons, and even gives the current position of their probe. I mean, it is incredibly specific and just absolutely astonishing to read as a decoded message. Wild stuff, right? Which brings us to Section 4, astronaut sightings and cover-ups. So now we pivot from radio waves to actual visual evidence. Enter astronomers like Jacques Fett, who reportedly tracked and filmed a massive 15-ton satellite. Keep in mind, that's an impossible weight for any earthly rocket at that time. But the story goes that when he presented his findings to the Observatory of Paris to get published, authorities promptly confiscated his files and destroyed the tapes. Supposedly, they did this just out of pure embarrassment because they couldn't identify its origins or definitively prove what it actually was. And this perfectly illustrates the stark divide between eyewitness accounts and official narratives. Take the 1963 Mercury 9 mission. You have highly experienced astronaut Gordon Cooper claiming to see a glowing green object in retrograde orbit. And what does NASA do? They officially write it off as a high carbon dioxide leak, causing a hallucination, which honestly is certainly a creative way to explain away a UFR sighting. But years later, after he retired, Cooper publicly rejected NASA's story, insisting that what he saw was absolutely real. You see that exact same tension surrounding the super famous 1998 STS-88 photos, which were taken during the first space shuttle mission to the International Space Station. Believers look at these incredibly clear images and see undeniable proof of an alien satellite floating through space. But NASA's official stance? They say it's literally just a lost thermal blanket that floated away during a spacewalk. So to skeptics, it's a mundane piece of trash. But to believers, that thermal blanket excuse is just another incredibly convenient cover-up. Okay, let's wrap this up with Section 5. Aliens, ancestors, or space junk?
So what are we actually looking at here? Well, the hypotheses kind of run the gamut from sci-fi fantasies to highly grounded military operations. First, you've got the 13,000-year-old alien surveillance probe. Second, the idea of a time capsule from future humans. Third, an ancient relic from some lost advanced civilization, like Atlantis. And finally, the covert government theory, that it's really just a top-secret Cold War spy satellite.
Let's unpack those middle two theories for a second, because they actually reveal a lot about what we as humans really want to find out there in the stars. If it's a time capsule or an ancient artifact, proponents suggest it could contain literal world-changing secrets meant to save us. We're talking cures for major diseases, climate change solutions, warnings to prevent us from repeating disastrous mistakes, or even whole new energy sources. It really represents this profound human hope that someone or something out there has the answers to our biggest problems. But of course, we've got to equally weigh the mundane realities here. During the Cold War, the US and the Soviets were locked in a super high-stakes race. So it is entirely possible that governments were simply hiding advanced aerospace technology. Or, as NASA maintains, maybe it truly is just old space debris. It's a much more down-to-earth explanation for sure, even if it's not quite as thrilling as discovering an ancient alien map. Ultimately, whether it's a loose thermal blanket, a Cold War intelligence relic, or an ancient map pinpointing the Epsilon Buddhist system, the whole Black Knight phenomenon leaves us with one incredibly fascinating question to ponder. If we really did successfully decode a message from something out there in the dark, would we even want to answer?